I feel like the same way. Like whenever I start talking about jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, guys, we have some time.
Yeah.
Because that will be a long conversation.
Exactly. All right, welcome to the Man of the Law podcast here at Brazil 021 headquarters. I'm your host, John Thompson. I'm a police officer that promotes the benefits of Jiu Jitsu, specifically for law enforcement officers. That's kind of my area of expertise and who I'm trying to bring it to. Today, my guest is Hannette Staack. And just a brief list of Hannette Staack's accomplishments. She's a 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. She is a member of the IBJJF Hall of Fame. She's a 7-time world champion, a 3-time ADCC champion, and she's also the co-founder of Brazil 021. And most recently, she's coming off a win in Chuto, Brazil, 119. Just recently won her last MMA match. And so I'd like to welcome Professor Hannette Staack. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, G2.
Appreciate it. So just to start out, just so people can get to know you a little better and that don't know you, outside of the jiu-jitsu community, inside of the jiu-jitsu community, you're well known, but just a basic question of how did your jiu-jitsu journey begin and where?
Mm-hmm. First of all, the man of the law.
Good to see you.
It is how it all started, the men of the law.
Yes.
But yes, I started Jiu-Jitsu in pretty much 1997 back in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. And I had a friend who, I used to do rock climbing, and a friend who was a purple belt at the time. And he said oh, you have a very good grip, you should try Jiu-Jitsu. And at the time was kind of known for people with more money, kind of because you had to get a gi. It was a little bit expensive to do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So I'm I don't know about this jiu-jitsu thing. So, but then I did my first class and I love it. It was a love at first sight, because it was just so empowering the way jiu-jitsu is. I saw a guy, a very small guy. He was a higher belt. I think he was a purple belt at the time. But he was training against someone a much bigger opponent, a bigger training partner, and he was able to dominate this guy. And I was wow, oh, this guy is so good, and he's smaller than the other guy. So that was really empowering jiu-jitsu. And then my professor gave me an opportunity. At the time, I was really financially leaving, starting college, in that situation, not much money.
Yeah, you're young and broke like most people starting out. Exactly, yeah.
And then he gave me an opportunity to train, and I'm very grateful, for the opportunity. Here I am today.
Yeah. And when you first started, how was the male to female ratio at that time? Because I know it was still, what was it, late 90s, early 2000s? Yeah.
So pretty much I was the only woman in my class, for a long time. People will come, we had some girls coming trying the class, but to stick with jiu-jitsu, only when I moved to started training with my other Professor Andre, we started Brazil 21.
Right.
That was different because he had some female students, and then I had the opportunity to train with some girls, because before the only way I could train with girls was in the competition.
Right.
So it was not many females at all at the time.
Okay. And then when did you start Brazil 021?
So we started here. So we came to United States to compete in the ADCC for the second time in 2007. In 2005 we came, and then we were man, we love this place. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of opportunity for jiu-jitsu. We believe we could. Because in Brazil, the way I saw André was he was a professional in jiu-jitsu, Mm-hmm. And that's why I chose because I had to choose to move to another gym. That's pretty much my professor stopped training. My professor was a police officer at the time.
Okay.
But he was kind of in a not a good time, and then he stopped training. He was coming back to the police. He stopped teaching, and then I had to look for someone else. Right. And then I had my professor, I call him Mestre Flávio. master because he was like a 7th degree at the time.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And then he introduced me to Andre. He's like, there's this guy, he's a professional. You know, he's going to take you where you want to go, like where you because I said, like, I want to be a world champion, I want to train more, you know, at the time, like at the school, like it was really like, sometimes like myself and some other guy, and we were like, man, I want to compete, I want to do this, you know, more. And then he introduced me to Andre, and that's how, you know, like this connection started. And he was really a professional, and that's how, like, you know, he never did anything besides jiu-jitsu in his life. And then once we decided to build Brazil 21, like to start Brazil 21, he was already like working with jiu-jitsu for a long time. Right. So, and for me, it was like just working with jiu-jitsu, but like I taught some kids in Brazil before I left, and I had like I taught some of the classes too. But I was like a more kind of like a competitor athlete than teacher, but I could absorb, like just working with him, absorb everything. And I said, like, you know, people could really like benefit. It was funny because when we came here, people really asked, like, is he really Brazilian? Right, because he's like, he gets here like at 5 a.m. and I never seen a Brazilian wake up at 5 a.m. Right. So it was so funny because people were like, man, this guy, something's wrong with him. He's a strange Brazilian guy, but that's like how he was in Brazil, you know, and that's why we're like able to have like successful school in Brazil as well, you know. So we brought the same mentality here to work with the fundamentals, like build a foundation. And then in 2009, because before it was like André Negão BJJ club, Hannette Staack BJJ, and I was like, you know, I didn't feel like, because he will teach in a certain time of the day, like for example in the morning, and I will teach in the evening. And then we have some students, they were like, you know, females or male students, and they're like, you know, for example, Sharon was like training with me, but she also trained with Andrea. Right. So it was like, you know, not fair to have like, it's like pretty much having 2 schools in one. So like, you know, let's just like think about something neutral that everybody can be a part of it, and not feel like, oh, this is like this person's name or this person's name. Right. And said in 2009, right before like the ADCC, I was preparing to the ADCC. In one of the trainings, I just stopped. I was like, I had this idea, and then I started like drawing on the paper, and that's how Brazil 21 started. It's like we were thinking about the names, like what Rio 021, nah, and we're thinking about like a Brazil, nah. And then we're like, Brazil 021, it's like, yeah, Brazil 021, yeah. Yes. 021.
And for those who don't know, 021 is the area code for Rio de Janeiro, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So for our American viewers, 021 is the, you know, the area code for, you know, Rio de Janeiro.
Yes, so, perfect.
So it goes very well, yes.
Yes. And that's how pretty much we started, but like the idea was like really to put everybody on the same, you know,
work together as like one team, right?
Exactly. Because doesn't make sense. Oh, this like is a female student, so should go under Hannette, or a male student, and there was no like there was guys training under, you know how it is.
And at the time, you're still working with Professor Andre on your stuff and trying to advance your game too. So it was kind of together. Anyways, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And also like I feel like our school, this mentality of like having, you know, women, and not like only any women, but like a strong, powerful female training with us, like as training partners, change the view of like a lot of people that don't know jiu-jitsu. Because a lot of people, they know jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu is really about this. It's having like, you know, like sometimes you can train with a woman or someone you like think like this person's like smaller and like a more fragile than me, and you're like, oh man. I had no idea this girl was so strong, or this person was so strong, but it's not strength. It's like it is a little bit, but combined with the technique, right? Exactly, but I feel like here we that's the magic of our school, like having the opportunity to like train with women too, but you know, respect the art, because the art is about like this, you know, is completely about this.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, you know, women and men that train here feel comfortable. And you know, the power of jiu-jitsu when you see a smaller female, you know, dominate a larger person. I mean, that's the whole idea of jiu-jitsu, and it's through technique and it's, you know, through skill, and that's what makes the difference. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
So to get on to the next question, kind of to tie it in with law enforcement, your fundamental curriculum here is like, I would say old school or more traditional, following like the Helio Gracie line from that down, which, you know, in kind of the new sport jiu-jitsu is very popular now. So could you explain like why you want to keep that fundamental, you know, self-defense program in your fundamental class?
I would say like not like it's like not old school, but it's like a pretty much the foundation of jiu-jitsu. It's like the basics of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So we put it together like in a, you know, like a 44 weeks program, and the idea was like to have, because it's very important for like, especially for a beginner, like once you're learning a martial art, to know how to defend yourself. And nowadays we're like just seeing like, you know, have like someone going to college, like a college, like, or like walking on the street, like things that got like a little bit, you know, for us in Brazil was like this. Being a woman, you always have to like walk and like look back.
Sure.
But really like the idea of having the self-defense, because that self-defense is the foundation of jiu-jitsu. It's part of the foundation of jiu-jitsu. And if you cannot make this connection, like it will be something missing, you know. So we because we come from like a traditional school with the Grandmaster Helio Gracie and then Grandmaster Mansour, and then like a passing on. So we like a pretty much like, you know, so Grandmaster Helio Gracie, Grandmaster Mansour, Carlos Henrique, Andrea, and myself. So we're very close to the source. And that's what we want to keep in our lineage, in our school. This like the tradition, the philosophy of Jiu-Jitsu. This empowerment that the Jiu-Jitsu brings to people, like being able to, okay, not only like if I want to go to a competition and I want to compete in the highest level, because I have like a solid foundation. And if you go to the competition, the higher level athletes, they use pretty much like a solid foundation, basics.
Fundamentals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you have a solid foundation, you know, everything will become easier. You can make a connection with the more advanced technique. But we really wanted to maintain this tradition and like this legacy. We don't want this to, because nowadays we see a lot of the competition, a lot of the schools, they have like the competition side of jiu-jitsu, which is great. The jiu-jitsu grew so much. You have like so many schools now in Chicago and like all over the world. I travel like all over the world. I have the opportunity to train like a lot of women training, which makes me very happy. But you see like most of the schools, they kind of like lost the, you know, like this part of the philosophy. And I feel like that's what we have to bring back, because it's a great tool, even like for education.
Sure.
You know, like because it teaches you like this resilience to be a better person. You know, you have to take care of the other person when you're training. Like pretty much you have the other person's life in your hands. Right. So it teaches you like a much more than just like the physical ability, like a physical values, but also like the mental aspects like of life. In general.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And that kind of leads me to my next question. Like, well, you kind of, you know, answered that with the fundamental training, and you know, that's basically what I did. I was a correctional officer first. I was at the Cook County Jail for 4 years. And now I'm a Chicago police officer. I've been doing that for a little over 8 years. And, you know, when I got into corrections, I was like, man, I need to learn how to defend myself. And basically, like, went on Google and, like, you know, what's the best martial art, you know? And, like, Muay Thai is great, wrestling's great, all these things. But Jiu-Jitsu really seemed to click, and just the, you know, the fundamentals of Jiu-Jitsu and the way you guys approach it, and how it's, you know, more holds and technique instead of striking, which, you know, kind of relates perfectly for law enforcement, where you can, you know, control another human being without, you know, causing a lot of damage.
Exactly.
You know, nothing against these other martial arts, they're great, but it's, you know, for law enforcement, I always thought that was kind of like, you know, you guys kind of had the best aspects of everything, you know, for a law enforcement officer to train and, to keep the subject safe and to keep themselves safe at the same time.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Also, like, it gives you, like, I feel like because you have, like, so much control. When you do jiu-jitsu, you know this.
Yes.
You have someone on the side control, and you can completely dominate the person in a way the person on the mount position, the person cannot move.
Yeah.
So much power in your hands, really. Like, I feel like for the, for the law enforcement, you can really, like, benefit from, like, this, like a toughness that jiu-jitsu brings you. Man, I'm like, if the person come at me, if I'm on the floor, I know what to do. Like, you have, like, at least, like, a little more,
like a sense of being in that dangerous spot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you're comfortable in jiu-jitsu, you're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right. No,
exactly. So this is, like, exactly what your work, it's like your daily work, like, asks for you, right? Like, you have to be uncomfortable. Like, you're there chasing someone, like, you don't know if someone is, like, chasing you as well.
Right.
So it's, in jiu-jitsu is really about this. It's about, like, it just, you don't know what's the next move.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, because you come in and they talk about, like, being a spazzy white belt. And really what that is like, your adrenaline and you're nervous and because you don't know how to be in these situations.
Exactly.
And that happens to police officers just as well as anybody else. If you're not prepared for that situation, or if this isn't something you do all the time, which is grapple with another human being that actually puts you in a dangerous position.
Exactly.
You're not just going to know what to do on the street and figure it out.
And you said something very, very interesting, JT, because that's exactly the way I felt. Like, once you're in that situation and you have, like, the person under control and you feel like the person doesn't know, like,
right.
Like, you're like, okay. Like, call the officers.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, I'm confident, I've got this. Exactly.
And I had this feeling on my MMA match.
Yeah.
Because, like, the girl was, like, a kind of, like, a more of the striking. And I feel like you can relate a little bit, the MMA, you can relate a little bit with your life. Like, you're saving, like, you're fighting for your life.
Sure.
Because in some way it is, if you have, like, very crazy punch or something, like, kick on the head, it can be it.
Yeah, elbows, right? Everything else, you can get seriously injured. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing you want to happen, right?
Sure.
So it's like pretty much you fighting for your life. So, but once you have, like, the person under control, once I closed the distance and I was close to the person, like, there, and I had, like, just, okay, that's it. I was, like, there, I was able to take the person down. I was like, okay.
You felt that control right away, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
I was like, man, I'm not going to, like, you're not going to leave here.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Like, she was, like, in the mount for, like,
Yeah, you were able to take her down.
Exactly.
And,
so imagine transferring this to, like, a police situation.
Yeah.
The person's, like, trying to come crazy, like,
striking,
you just, like,
exactly.
You're able to take the person down in a way. You're not going to hurt the person. You're just going to put the person down.
And control them.
Control.
Right.
That's it.
And it's perfect for law enforcement. And it still goes back to fundamental jiu-jitsu, which is, you close the distance, avoid as many strikes as you can, get the takedown and control on the ground. And that relates perfectly for law enforcement because that's usually exactly what we do. And like you talked about, like, once you train jiu-jitsu for a long time, when you kind of grapple with somebody, you kind of know right away, like, oh, okay, I got this. And you can kind of hang out and mount for a while. You're either stronger or, physically a little better than them. And so I know that feeling, and I know the opposite side too, when somebody, is, much better and on a much higher level.
Exactly. And that's like the situation where, like, now you have the calm, like you're more calm because you're like, man, I had someone, like in a competition, like, I don't know, like very, like, it was a hard situation, but I was able to, like, I'm here.
Right, exactly, right. You survive, you learn how to breathe, you learn how to stay calm. And all these kind of things you can work out on the mats in a safe environment if you're a law enforcement officer, instead of, learning on the streets the hard way, where it's, fight or flight, this panic, you can, I've learned these things on the mats, how to stay calm, how to breathe. I could start reading people a little better on their, body movement and mechanics and, start thinking a couple steps ahead on, do I want to arm drag this guy? And maybe, and you can start, using these things. But if you don't have the tools of jiu-jitsu, on the street, you're left with very minimal tools, and usually it's ends up raising the use of force.
Yes.
Because you don't
and
have
the level
any
of
other
the
options.
stress on your work,
Right.
right? Because you don't know, so you're always like stressed out. So at least you have a little more. Okay,
Yeah.
so
It definitely lends. Nothing's perfect in this world, and nothing's 100%. But I couldn't imagine patrolling the streets every day, having to deal with stuff without having a little jiu-jitsu in my back pocket.
something
And
like in
a lot more
yes.
confidence, and it's helped me tremendously night and day. And I see other officers coming in, they're taking fundamental jiu-jitsu, they're taking our Friday night law enforcement class, and I see the changes in them too. Physically, mentally, they all kind of really enjoy it, they get it right away. And it's been a really good program, and it's been I think a couple months now, and it's been really enjoyable.
And we hope like more people can understand.
Yeah.
That's why we want to bring more people to benefit from
Absolutely.
this. I feel like the same way. Like whenever I start talking about jiu-jitsu, it's like okay, guys, you have some time.
Yeah.
Because that will be a long conversation.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much we can cover and talk about.
Exactly.
And like we try and keep it at least with the man of the law, a little more law enforcement related, and because we could talk jiu-jitsu all day.
So good.
But for the law enforcement, like it clicked with me right away. I was like, this, we need to be training this, and I need to be training this. Unfortunately, big departments, like the one that I work for, it's just, implementing that into their, new use of force policy. That's, kind of a big endeavor. So for us, it was easier just to say, let's start a class and bring the officers to us. And, we have Professor Hannette, Professor Andre here, Professor Vinny, and plenty other, great, coaches and teachers, instructors here. And so that's, that's been easier. If the departments aren't going to train us, then, we got to seek it out on our own. So, and there's plenty of, good jiu-jitsu around.
Yes. As long as we keep spreading the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
that's true.
So to kind of switch gears a little bit, you've been, you had your third MMA fight, Shuto Brazil, 119. You got a victory in that. Good takedowns using jiu-jitsu. And so just kind of like, because, your whole career has been, just straight kind of traditional jiu-jitsu competition. So in addition, like how's your MMA training been where you're adding, like you've added wrestling, you've added Muay Thai, you've added some boxing. So how has that kind of transition been for you to kind of like, kind of become that, mixed martial artist and try out, these new things and work them into your game?
I think like the main thing is like because I have like this 25 years, 26 years pretty much experience in jiu-jitsu, and my foundation in jiu-jitsu gave me the chance of being able to play like in the MMA world now.
Sure.
Like I should like do like the MMA matches, because if I didn't have jiu-jitsu, I would not be able to do this, because then it would be too much. I feel like jiu-jitsu is at least 60% of a match. 60%. I'm like being like a very, because if you have like for example, like with the solid jiu-jitsu, even though like in the beginning, I would put at the very beginning when I went there to train for the first time, even with zero, strikes, I would still able to like, even with the craziness, I would still be able to like, grab the person, throw the person on the floor without any experience.
Put them up against cage, take them down, and
maybe
work,
like
still work your submissions.
like because I would just like go like survival mode.
Yeah.
And that's like that for me like the first times like because I was really going like this. Crazy.
Just
and,
cover up and
like,
going in.
Like
exactly.
Chasing the chicken like
right. Just
like
you gotta get a hold of
I have to hold this person no matter what. But jiu-jitsu gave me this like a confidence.
Sure.
It's so weird because once I step on that cage, I'm like,
it's not too far off from what you do out here.
Exactly, and because we work so much on the self-defense here, like we work so much on the self-defense, it's like okay, at least like how to block a punch or a kick. I know something, I know something, like I know like how to walk and like in a base, jiu-jitsu base. So it wasn't like a completely like a stranger, like like on the sport. But jiu-jitsu gave me this confidence, because being a black belt and being like a high level, you know, in jiu-jitsu gave me a lot of confidence and definitely like it made a difference in the, you know, in my game. And I felt like it, because I was kind of like, my goal was like to do like 3 matches in 1 year, and was like, you know, I really accomplished this goal, like a little less than a year. I did like these 3 matches. And won the first one, lost the second one, and won the third one. But the second one, for me, even though I lost and I hate losing, it was a really important lesson that I had to learn, because I really lost by like inexperience. That's how I felt. Like, you know, I didn't feel like the judges like interfere because it's like the rules of the game. But I wasn't like, you know, feeling anything in dangers. Like it wasn't half guard, like one of my favorite positions to play here in a school. Of course, we don't have the punches, but you know, I had like a, you know, like a frame in a way. But it's MMA, inexperience. But it was really important to open my eyes. That's even though I have like a very good jiu-jitsu, this is still a different sport. It's MMA. And MMA, that's like I said before, is like a little bit related to life. You know, I have to like run for my life, you know, like I have to save my life. I have to do whatever I can to save my life. And you go like into like a kind of like a survival mode. So your survival mode will be jiu-jitsu. My survival mode will be always will be jiu-jitsu. If I go in panic, I will go,
that's going to be your automatic.
Exactly.
That's going to be your automatic.
But I could not only rely on this. You know, I have to, even though like, you know, okay, this is like what I want to do, I will go take the person down, go to the mount and submit. That was my goal. But even though sometimes like things, they don't go the way you want to go, because this is MMA. And you still have to use jiu-jitsu, you know, in the mentality and in the game, like on my third match. My third match, because I said, okay, like my third match, I really was able to work more on my standing, to get better. Like I was like change my base, because I'm right-handed, but I'm playing like left-handed southpaw. Because like in Brazil, like the professor there, Mestre Dedé, he said like, Hannette, I was there too. I was like you, like from jiu-jitsu. I always play with my right leg in front, like you. So I think you should like play, you know, like a southpaw instead of like a. And I'm like, really?
So for your third fight, you switched up your stance to southpaw.
Exactly. On my second match, I was, you know, switching. But it was still like kind of like, you know, like in
back and forth.
But the third one, I was, you know, like only like on my southpaw base, and it was really, really cool, because I was like able to connect my takedowns. I felt like, you know, like I went 3 rounds, even though I didn't submit, and I wanted the submission. But for me, it was important also to go 3 rounds, because, you know, 3 rounds that I didn't feel like tired.
Your cardio was still good,
I had the whole control on the 3 rounds. Like, you know, I did like my plan. Take down, went to the mount, control. You know, I tried to do some submission, but I had some elbows, I had some punches. You know, so I really could bring this other part, because JT, this is the gentle art. And look, you spend so much time doing jiu-jitsu, you're nice to people. You know, you're like
But when you're in mount tier, like MMA, you could just switch to start dropping elbows.
Exactly. So you have to switch kind of like your mentality. And being a professor for so long, like, you know,
you're used to taking care of people.
Taking care of your students.
Don't break his arm.
If you go like, you know, too hard, like, you know, you bring your hand under the person's neck and the person has the hair, you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
You're like, sorry,
like,
or you cross face or something, you're like, oh, sorry, exactly.
So you were like, you take care of the other person. And like, I had to like turn this switch. And I felt like this third match was like, because like my boxing teacher there, he's like, Hannette, you're not going to be able to take the person down if you don't put your hand on them. You have to put your hand on them. And I'm like, okay.
You have to use your strikes to open them up.
Because I was like this. Man, if I hit you, like, especially because I have like not much control on the punches yet. So sometimes, like, you know, I'm punching like maybe I'm punching too hard, but I'm like in my mind, I'm like punching like, oh, I didn't use my whole power here. In a sense, so in my mind, like I'm afraid to hurt the other person. So he's like, you have to, you know, break this blockage. You have to, you know, throw your hand, let your hand go, man. And I was like, okay. And then I even had like a couple hands on the fight too. It's like when you're in the mount position, hand and elbow, and I'm like, okay.
You got to change it up a little. And
you
just
have
become,
to.
you
have to
kind of destroy the other person.
It was really like for me, like jiu-jitsu was really important to give me this confidence that I could do, you know, especially in the, you know, at 44 years old. Yeah. Right? It's not like many people that start doing something like
at that age, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me it was like a big accomplishment, but all because I could do all because of jiu-jitsu. Right. You know. Yeah. Also, like I feel
you needed to have that, you know, major foundation for years and years to even you know, just step into the arena. Yeah.
Exactly. And against like people like much younger and like with like experience as well. But it was really interesting because like a change in the side of like the gentle art, because you in jiu-jitsu you can pretty much control someone without like the person would be perfect, but all with broken sides.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, arms or choke out. Right,
exactly. Yeah. So we like, you know, so like, but MMA is a different game. But it was good to open this other side, and also like to like relating to what we do here for the self-defense. You know, I could see for myself that our self-defense works.
You're right.
You know, like years doing this, and I went there, I still could use the same moves I use here.
Right.
You know, this.
Exactly.
You know, this move, like, you know, this move.
Right.
You know, like just like a taking the punches, but.
And if it works in professional MMA,
the defense,
then it works.
like for the takedowns, like you know, like we can use so much.
Yeah.
The shield. Oh my God, the shield. Yeah. The shield with the technical stand up. Yeah. Because for me, like I would not do the technical stand up because I want to stay on the floor.
Sure. Yeah. You want to pull them in your guard.
Maybe on the bottom, but you know, just like so much you can use.
Sure. Yeah, and it's really, you know, a great foundation for, you know, any fighting, you know. And
I feel like in the beginning, like once you like maybe like competing, you like neglect a little bit the self-defense part of jiu-jitsu. But once you, or maybe like, you know, maybe not, but like a lot of people like when they competing, like, but then once you get older or you like you start like understanding more about the art in general, you like, wow, I'm so glad I learned this way. You know, I learned with the self-defense. Because imagine if I would go there and just know how to pull guard and like be berimbolo.
Exactly, yeah. And
that would be not good.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. And as a fan watching your third fight, I think, you know, it did seem like it really came together for you in that third fight. Your stand-up looked really smooth and crisp, your takedowns, and it really seemed like you kind of came together as like, you know, that was you looked a lot better out there and a lot more comfortable in what you were doing. So yeah, it was great. And, you know, I'm also a big fan too, and looking forward to it. Yeah. So that leads me to the last question. So you know, what are your big plans for 2024, and you know, what should, you know, the fans be looking for in 2024?
So I still want to do like maybe a couple more until like I have like a little fire here inside. Sure. So I'm planning 2004 to do like some training. Because it's better to be prepared and you know, have the opportunity or not, and then having the opportunity and not be prepared. So I want to start my preparation next year in the beginning of the year.
So you got to stay in fight shape, kind of.
Exactly.
You could get that opportunity at any time.
You don't have to go in camp mode, but you have to. I want to be like, you know,
close.
Better. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Getting my stance better. You know, whatever I can. And I feel like because in Brazil I have this place where I can do all together there, so it's kind of like easier. But we'll see. But my plan is like to, you know, continue to prepare for the MMA match, and maybe like, you know, who knows, maybe like some no-gi matches in between, you know, like some no-gi matches. I'm on to some no-gi matches, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I was like thinking about maybe like the no-gi worlds this year in December, but I have an event and it's like very close to the, so. Yeah, but for next year I'm like,
yeah, 2024 is going to be another great year. Yeah,
exactly.
Another great year.
And plus, you know, I'm excited with the, you know, all the changes we did here at the school as well. Like I think like this year will really like bring people together. Like there's some new talents in Brazil as well, like coming up from Paquetá.
Yes, yeah.
From like Alto da Boa Vista. like the schools there, like the some new kids coming, like blue belts, like one green belt.
Oh, great.
So I'm excited to like see like some of the girls as well. There's some girls from like the main school there, but I'm excited to like next year just to see like where we can take these kids, like
Sure.
helping those kids to get to the next level.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like one of my goals for next year as well. Besides, my personal project with the competition,
Sure.
the MMA and maybe some no-gi matches, but really getting these kids to, fulfill their dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Help
that's
them
great.
to reach
Yeah.
their dream. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you, Professor. So just for closing, I just wanted to thank you for sharing, and I enjoyed the conversation, and I actually learned a few things about Professor Hannette Staack
Yes.
that I didn't know before. And I hope all the listeners enjoyed it, and remember to like and subscribe to the podcast here at the Man of the Law.
The man of the
Man
law.
of the Law. And also you can check us out at Brazil021.com. And if you're, in the Chicago area, you're law enforcement in the Chicago area or the surrounding suburbs of Chicago, we also have a place in Arlington Heights you could check out too. But, come join us here. We're here at Brazil021 Chicago, Friday nights, 6 o'clock. We're actually about to go on the mats right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some police officers coming in, and we're going to do some training. And, that's what it's all about. And that's what we're, trying to promote. And it's always great talking to you about Jiu Jitsu. We could, talk forever
Yes,
about Jiu Jitsu.
yes.
And I'm also a big fan. So from myself, from Hannette Staack, we'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Was.
Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
JT.
you.